Hi, my name is Sumit Moghe. I'm training manager for ThoughtWorks University and ThoughtWorks Immersion, and I'd like to thank you for watching today's video presentation on mind mapping. I hope to focus on this presentation not on the broader skill of mind mapping itself, but how trainers could use mind maps to actually deliver strong, powerful presentations. If you're interested in actually knowing how to mind map, I'd strongly recommend that you read the Mind Map book by Tony Buzan. I'm going to display that on the screen right now. And if possible, take a look at the Mind Mapping Manifesto by Chuck Frey. It would be a pity if I were to actually do a training on mind maps and use a linear presentation to do it. So I'll talk about mind maps and use a mind map to explain the concept. All right, so what I'm using here is a tool called iMindMap. It's a tool from Tony Buzan, who's considered to be the father of mind maps. But this is not really about the tool. I'm using the tool for want of a whiteboard where I could have done this for you. Here's what I'm going to be dealing with in this presentation. I'd like to touch upon what mind maps are for those of you who don't know. I'd like to talk about a few laws of drawing mind maps, and I wouldn't call them laws, I'd just say they're guiding principles. Why would you want to use mind maps? I'd like to cover that off for some time, and a few things to remember when you're using them in a classroom situations. So I'll actually turn down the zoom level for this a bit, just so that it's visible enough. While you're actually starting up, I'm going to let you take a look at an example of a mind map. Right, so here you see a mind map by a gentleman called Kaizad Irani, and he's gone ahead and mind mapped the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, in this map. Now, what he's done is, if you notice, he's got a central image, and he's put the topic right in that image. It does look very artistic. He's got some very, very strong, heavy branches going off the central image, and he's got each of those 7 habits represented by 7 different branches. And then against each of those branches, he's got some small characteristics listed which help you identify, how do you know that an effective person is proactive, or how do you know that an effective person is goal setting, or how do you know that an effective person's got personal management, etc., etc. So there are a couple of things to note here, and we'll keep coming back to that each time we discuss a new principle about mind maps. But this is generally how a mind map could look. And while I'm presenting to you a highly artistic mind map, I don't want you to think that every mind map needs to be this artistic. I myself am limited in my artistic abilities, so I draw stick figures. So you don't necessarily need to be Pablo Picasso to be a mind mapper. So now let's get back to our mind map for this topic. And the first question I'd like to address is, what are mind maps? Now, mind maps are really visual representations of an idea, and they consist of a central image which is connected to a number of topics. Now, how would you actually use a mind map? So the uses are plenty. I use it for a number of things, and one of the things I use it for is brainstorming. I often use it for maintaining some sort of a database, and I'll show you how I do that. Especially when I'm preparing for a session, I like to do that. So it's like a visual database. I often use it for project management. And this is not really an agile project that I'm talking about. I'm talking about really a personal project where I can list down what are the things I need to do for myself, and I use this in conjunction with other tools. Uh, you could use mind maps to structure to-do lists if necessary, though there are better tools to do that. Uh, Mind maps are often used for knowledge management. And as you know right now, they are also used for training, they're used for presentations, and whatnot. I don't think I can completely tell you all of the uses of mind maps. I'd request you to read the book if you're interested. Mind maps often are also equated with productivity tools. And what they really help you do is very quickly gain clarity on complex topics. So they help you get fast clarity on complex topics. And considering the kind of ad hoc nature of our work, it helps actually to be ad hoc. Now, I'll stop for a while and talk about why this helps ad hocism. When you think linearly, you pretty much, when you're thinking or when you're storing your information in a linear fashion, you're pretty much limiting yourself to a sequence of steps or really a chronological order. That said, life doesn't give us challenges in a chronological order. You have your client coming and giving you a new requirement, or you have just your girlfriend coming and giving you something that you need to do, or your wife asking you to run an errand, and one new piece of information coming in after the other. And you'd like a way to organize it which is really non-linear, which is the way your brain would store information. And the way mind maps actually represent data pretty much mimics the way your brain stores information, which is in a radiant fashion. So I found mind maps to actually help ad hocism in a big way. So my life, which is pretty unpredictable, kind of works well with mind maps. Now, there's a couple of things to know about mind maps and before we actually start making a few of our own, and those are the principles. Now, remember that a mind map is personal. So I'll write it down, it's personal. And the map is really a map of your mind. So I'm just going to take the off away really, and I'll tell you why I'm doing that. So let's take it that for a moment. It's a map of your mind. So a map that you do in isolation and you present to somebody without any narration wouldn't usually do that person any good, because really, as I said, it's a map of your mind. It's something that you understand. So remember that if you're presenting a map to somebody, present it with some narration, or try to develop it in conjunction with the other person. Now, one of the temptations with mind maps is to actually use complete sentences or huge phrases on the branches. One of the rules that Buzan talks about is using single keywords on each line. I'll just say per line. Now, one of the reasons he says so is because using one word, I could use the word Java with 1,000 different associations. But if I were to actually put the sentence, I love Java, it's very unlikely that I'd be able to make a number of associations with that sentence. So what it really asks you to do is use a single word, because that just increases the number of associations you can make. Now remember, mind maps are all about creating associations